I want to welcome you. Thank you for coming tonight. Make sure you're in the right meeting. We're talking about kindergarten and open enrollment tonight. Oh, I'm sorry. I walked away from, this is Brock Letchworth, and he's my microphone.
I have the mic. So.
That's right. I have to stand really close to him. Anyway, I'm Carolyn Reed, and I'm Vice President of Parents for Public Schools of Pitt County. And we're a national organization. We're the first North Carolina chapter. And I wanted you to meet Kathy Herring. She's our president, and Kylene Dibble. She's our executive director. And we have board members here, too. So be sure to try and talk to one of us tonight if you can. We'd love to tell you about PPS and get you involved. I'm not going to talk long, but I'm going to tell you a couple of things that we're doing in Pitt County, specifically 3 things that we're involved in. The first is called our PEP class. It's a parent engagement program where we train parents and community members who want to kind of get more involved in education, about how to do that, about education in Pitt County and North Carolina. Second thing is community conversations, and that's exactly what it sounds like. We go out into the community, any civic group, your church, the Kiwanis, the Rotary, and we talk about public education. We not only talk, but we listen. And everything that people tell us about public education, we write down. We take all that data and make it into a report, and we give it to Pitt County schools. And just so you know that parents and community members have an impact on public education in Pitt County, last year in our first annual report, probably the biggest finding was that parents wanted more school equity, and they wanted school choice. And guess what? PCS listened. Guess what we've got now? Open enrollment at a bunch of schools. So it really does matter that you lift your voices and care about and talk about education in Pitt County. Our third thing is school tours, and because of all this open enrollment, all of a sudden we've got a lot of parents and community members wanting to see a bunch of different schools. We're happy to host a bunch of tours, specifically next week, the 29th, the 1st, and the 2nd. We've got tours at a lot of schools, so if there's a school you want to see us afterwards, and we can sign you up. Also, if you just want to know what Parents for Public Schools is doing, sign up for our newsletter afterwards if you haven't already before you didn't on your way in, because we'd love to keep you informed, and you may see something where you want to jump in. Okay, enough about us. Also, I wanted to recognize Caroline Doherty, a school board member who's here tonight. Thanks for coming. Did I miss any other school board members? Okay. Robert Moore, who's, well, he's been a school board member, and he's running for election next year. All right.
And Melinda Fagundes.
Oh, I'm sorry, Melinda Fagundes.
And Betsy Clinton.
Betsy Clinton, thank you for identifying yourselves. These are key figures in public education in Pitt County. Okay, so tonight we're going to talk about 2 things, kindergarten and open enrollment. First of all, we've got Lisa Tate, who's the director of K-5 curriculum and instruction for Pitt County Schools, and she brought with her Terry Joyner, who's the lead nurse for Pitt County Schools, so you got a lot of experience and expertise there for those of you that want to learn about kindergarten. And then we have Brock Letchworth, my microphone, who's director of public information for Pitt County Schools, and he's going to answer all your questions about open enrollment, like which schools are open and thus. And on your table, I want you to see there's some cards. There's pink cards and some other color card, green cards. If you have questions, if you don't mind holding them till the end, the way we like to do it so they can get all their information out and then we can get questions answered is if you have a question about kindergarten, please write it on the pink cards. If you have a question about open enrollment, write it on the green cards, and we'll collect those and give them to them, and at the end of both their presentations, then we'll take a question and answer period. So thank you for coming, and without further ado, Lisa Tate.
Why don't you be my, yeah. Brock's going to be my remote today since I don't have one. Welcome. I'm so glad that you all are here. I'm very informal. I'm going to go through the process and some questions that Kylene has sent to me. But I also, again, have brought Terry because, as always, anytime you have registration, vaccinations and immunizations come up, and that's not my territory, which is why I'm a teacher, not a nurse. So that's why I have Terry, and she's going to speak for a few minutes if you have any questions about that. I want to start out. Did you know by the age of 5 a child can understand over 13,000 words just from taking it in? We find that very important, obviously, as educators, because that's not just if you read to your children, which we hope that you do on a daily basis, but it's also just an everyday language that they pick up with being with you or being with other children. So we felt that was very powerful to start off with. And then I'm going to get you to think about it and fill in the blank below. A 5-year-old asks on average blank questions a day. 13,000. Anybody else want to go for that?
As many as they can tell.
As many as they can say. Yeah, I know this doesn't happen in your homes. Actually, the correct answer is 637 questions a day. And yes, that may seem like more in other homes. I know mine only used one, was why. We still find this as teachers, obviously. We get these questions, but we just get it 20-fold, 30-fold with all the students that we have in our classrooms. So we're happy to do so. But we thought that was an interesting fact as well. I'm going to jump into registration. A lot of these facts you may or may not already know. We have it on our Pitt County School website, but there were some questions that were sent to me directly that I thought I would speak about it for everyone just in case. Your child must be 5 on or before August 31st, 2016 to be eligible for admittance into kindergarten this year. We get that question a lot. We get the question, if my child is 4, but they went to a certain school, can we come in? We deal with those on a child-by-child basis, and usually it goes straight to the principal because sometimes there are extenuating circumstances, but the state law is that they have to be 5 on or before August 31st. Our kindergarten registration dates and times are posted on the Pitt County School website. I also brought tonight, which I'll leave up here, we made copies for each of you as well so that you would have that. I also made copies of all the schools and their main numbers, so a lot of things that you're going to need to ask will be toward that principal. So I brought that in case, because sometimes that's not always easy to find when you're trying to go through the website. So I have that. We provide all registration forms in English and Spanish. Most registration sessions will be held in the media center or the main office area. Now, what is required? Proof of age, copy of a certified birth certificate, completed immunizations shot record, which Terry's going to talk about in a moment, 2 proofs of residence, light bill, water bill, anything that has your address and your name on it, physical address. Now, there's a court order for guardianship, and that is only if the student is living with someone other than their biological parent. And again, last but not least, completed health assessment. We have some, and I believe we've given some to you on the table, but you also will receive that at registration, and you have, if I'm not mistaken, up to 30 days to have that filled out. Not like you have to do it right then in front of the registration, but it's helpful if you can.
As far as the 2 proofs of residence, for example, I have 2 girls. This one, I'm her biological mother, it's her stepdad.
Right.
So if we've got the bills in his name, does that matter if it's a utility bill or it's in his name being the stepfather?
Not if you could show, I would have one, right, if you have something, yes, absolutely, that would be fine. That's a very good question. We do have that often. But if your physical address is the same as what he has on his mailing, that's proof of purchase. Proof of purchase. Proof of purchase. Okay. I'm going to let Terry talk for a second about the health assessment and the immunization part. You don't need to. Oh, yeah, the mic.
Okay, so stand next to me while I talk.
You stand on this
Okay,
side.
so every kindergarten student coming in, as she was saying, has to have the 2 health things that you need to have are a record of immunizations and that health assessment form, both of which you have 30 days after school starts to get it in, but really we like to have that as soon as possible, especially if your child has any kind of health issue. And one thing I did want to encourage you to do is that if you do have a child that has asthma or diabetes or some kind of health issue that certainly their school nurse needs to know about, is to, when you do kindergarten registration, either when you go in, ask to speak to the school nurse or ask for the school nurse's number. They are more than happy to talk to you. They love preparing for their kindergartners before they actually get there. So getting that information to us as soon as possible, because sometimes we have a lot and there's one school nurse, and It's a lot of work to do, and we want to make sure your kids are at school safe and ready to learn. So those are the two forms. I brought plenty of these, the health assessment form, and that's just going to your primary care provider. It's a North Carolina law that we have to have that within that first 30 days, and then immunizations as well. The law changed a little bit last year on immunizations, so I did bring the handout from the state that includes the new immunization regulations. And again, that's a North Carolina law, and we just have to make sure that our kids have what they tell us they're supposed to have. And really, that's kind of it. So if you have any questions, put them on the pink card, and I'll be happy to answer those.
Go ahead. One thing that we really highly encourage you to do is take a tour with your child so they can visit and ask questions. We've already spoken about the tour dates and times. I believe they're going to give those out. And our principals and teachers are always eager to open the door and for you to come in and see, especially when there's other students there. When you come during the summer, it's quite vacant, people are working, things are put away, but to have them come at this time period is very beneficial because you have all the right people there that you need to ask the questions of. And my children are quite grown, 25 and 19, but I remember when I would take them, it was clinging to my leg, not wanting to go. And taking a tour and walking around the building and seeing other students would help, alleviate that. Because that's a very nerve-wracking thing for some children that are not used to being around a lot of adults or children. At registration, you will receive more specific information about assessment date and time. So let me talk about that. A lot of people ask me, what is an assessment? What occurs during that? It really varies amongst the schools, but primarily it's not like a 30-minute test where they have to stand in there forever. If any of you have older siblings, you know what I'm speaking about. But they do have them count 1 to 10, write their name, letter recognition, and they do provide them with a leveled reader, a book, if they so choose to read. If they're comfortable to do so, that is fine. If they like to look at the pictures and they might ask some questions about what they see in the pictures, those types of things. But mainly it's to get a baseline for where they are. It lasts anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes, not long at all. And it's set up in sessions where there's several teachers in a quiet environment, usually the media center and sometimes in other classrooms. When you do go for the tour or the registration open house, that's when I would ask those specific questions. When do you feel like we'll be coming back in for the assessment? Most schools give you a card at that time and tell you this is the date that you will need to come in time. It's pretty much always in August because that's when teachers are more available to be there to have this occur. And they also, during that time period, will either let you know which day you will come, if it's a staggered kindergarten entrance. Sometimes some schools do boys one day and girls another. Some take it from the alphabet, and it varies depending upon the school. If it's a large school, you can understand why they would do it by the alphabet. Small school, boys and girls. So the assessment is something that, again, you will find out when you take the tour of the school. The number that I'm giving you today, call the principal and ask. They're working on all those things. They may not have a specific date yet, but I can assure you it will be sometime in August. We encourage you, like I just said, to attend the PCS Open House scheduled for August 25th. And what is Independence Day? This is the question I get asked a lot. It was before my time, so I can say that. But I went ahead and pulled off of our site. 7 years ago, Pitt County implemented a system-wide Independence Day after our district leadership team and principals discussed the need for K-8. This is not just a kindergarten. This is kindergarten through 8th grade. Students to walk to class by themselves in the morning. And the reason is to develop independence and confidence. Teachers need to start their instructional day. We usually have it about 20 days within the time school starts. I'm not the one that designates it. It is done by senior leadership. but that date usually falls around September. I think last year it was September 21st. The year before was like September 19th, so you can imagine about that time. Now, if you have a special circumstance, the principals are more than open for you to have a conversation with them about that, because they understand things are not just clear cut. So if there is a special circumstance, just speak to your principal and talk to them about it, and I promise you they will work with you. We all understand, as a former principal myself, not every rule always works exactly for every child, but this is what we try to do district-wide with that. And that's all I have for my section. I hope you have questions at the end of the time, but I'm going to hand this over to Brock.
Okay, so I have open enrollment. For those of you that aren't familiar with this, the reason primarily I'm here speaking on this tonight is because we have expanded the number of open enrollment schools that we have in Pitt County. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what that means to be an open enrollment school, which schools are open enrollment now, and some of the procedures for going about applying for admission to those open enrollment schools. I'm just curious, by a show of hands, how many of you here tonight are interested in this topic? This was the reason you came.
That's what I thought. That's just why I went first.
All right, so the purpose of open enrollment, it's designed, you all will appreciate that later, filming. It's designed to increase enrollment and maximize opportunities for students. The consideration for open enrollment is based upon first come, first serve when it comes to the application, space availability at the school, and the impact that it may have on the schools in which students are leaving. Now, what does open enrollment mean? Open enrollment means any student in Pitt County can apply for admission to that school. It doesn't have to, and that doesn't just have to be a Pitt County school student going to another Pitt County school. It could be any student in the district. You do not have to live in the district of that particular school. Now, students who live in the district do get priority for admission to those schools, obviously, but the idea of open enrollment is that there is space available. We've heard the cry for more school choice, more opportunities for our families and their students, and that is why we have expanded the list. Just to give you an idea, the list has gone from what was 6 schools 2 years ago to now 20 that we've opened up. And I think that what has generated a lot of interest this year is the opening of all of the high schools and some additional elementary schools in our district. The application period begins April 1st. I have confirmation from our student assignment office. They have accepted no applications for open enrollment at this time, nor will they until that April 1st date. So there's been a lot of concern throughout the community about, should I apply early? Does it benefit me to apply early? No, it does not. It actually would not be accepted, and you just need to wait until the April 1st date. The cutoff is July 1st. Notifications are provided. In policy, it states that notification of acceptance would be provided by July 15th. I can assure you it will not be July 15th. Most likely you will know within a matter of a week or so as far as acceptance goes. This is an important point about open enrollment. Transportation is not provided by the school system for open enrollment. No bus transportation is provided. Now there are exceptions. If we're talking about EC students, that's different, but other than that, no transportation is provided. It is up to you to get the child to the school if you do choose to do open enrollment. If you are approved, then that approval is good for the exit grade of the school and your child will be attending. So if you are transferring as a first grader to a K-5 school, you would be approved through 5th grade, through the exit grade of that school. If you're transferring to a high school as a freshman, you're approved through your senior year. The applications, you do not have to submit them each year. Once you are approved, it is set. You are there for the exit grade, and the only reason you may have to submit another application is if you decided to go to another open enrollment school for the next school that your child attends. Now, these approvals and transfers are only good for the individual students and not necessarily for siblings. Now, that does not mean if you have two children the same age that you are applying for, that one could get approved and one could not. That is not the case. I'm speaking about a younger sibling. You've got a child in 2nd grade and you've got a child who's yet to enter school. Well, there is no guarantee that the school will be on the open enrollment list when that child who's about to enter school enters school. It would be only good for that student in that year. Now, I can tell you that our student assignment office is not going to deny if you've got twins or you've got kids in 2nd and 3rd grade or whatever it may be. They're not going to approve one and deny the other. That's not going to happen. They're going to work with the families to make sure that they're both approved for that. The request for open enrollment are initiated not at the schools. I want to be clear on that. It is not something that is handled by the schools. This is handled by the central office, specifically the student assignment office for Pitt County schools. And what you have to do, and I think, you place some on the tables? Some of the forms have been placed on the tables. These forms are available online. I'm going to show it to you in just a second. What you have to do is complete the student reassignment form. And as I said, some are on the tables. And you deliver those to the Pitt County Schools Student Assignment Office. And there are options for delivery. I personally think the best is hand delivering it. You can email it. You can fax it. I'll give you some of the info in just a minute of where that would go. And you can mail it. But I would personally say that the best option for you is to hand deliver it to the Student Assignment Office, and specifically the director, whose name is Kay Wethington. This is what the form looks like. It is at your table so you can see it. I would like to point out one thing on here. We would do everything possible to approve you for the school you would like for your child to attend, but we do give the option to request up to 3 schools that you might be interested in. Your first choice is what the Student Assignment Office is going to work as hard as they can on to get for you. I can tell you that. The additional choices are just if for some reason we do have an incredible number of applicants for one school that we cannot accommodate, we can say, well, are you interested? What about the second choice? We had this many ahead of you. We kind of hit our max on that. Would you still be interested in this? Let me just add something about this. This is kind of uncharted waters for us in terms of the interest that we have at this time in open enrollment. We've had open enrollment schools, but we have yet to experience the interest, the questions, the eagerness to apply that we've experienced this year. And, so when April 1st hits, I think we're all kind of excited about this. I mean, I think we're excited that we've got people who are so interested in what we have to offer with Pitt County Schools, and hopefully they're getting into our schools and they're seeing some of the great things that are happening in some of these schools. I've talked to some people who have toured them, and I've told them, hey, you need to give it a shot. You need to get in the school. You need to take a look at what's going on there. And after they've done so, they've been really pleased with what they've seen. And that's one of the reasons we're really excited about these tours next week, too, to offer that opportunity for families. Here are the schools. We're going to start with the high schools, and there's one very important piece of the high school transfers I want to point out. All of the high schools have been added to the open enrollment list. But there is a rule in place for athletics with regards to high school transfers. Any high school student that transfers from one Pitt County high school to another Pitt County high school now has to sit out for a full year from athletics. One of the concerns was that we had people transferring specifically for the purpose of athletics, and that's why the rule was put in place. This does not apply to an 8th grader who may be assigned to a D.H. Conley and decides they want to go to a North Pitt. When they enter 9th grade, it does not apply to them. They would not have to sit out. Now, once you are enrolled and attend that school, if you transfer, it applies to you. That's, as far as the high schools go, that's really the one thing I wanted to emphasize for them. These are our middle schools availabilities. You've got Aiden Middle, Farmville Middle, Welcome Middle, Bethel, and Stokes, which are K-8. And then the elementaries. We've added, as many of you are probably aware, we've added some more of our elementary schools in the city of Greenville, specifically Eastern, Elmhurst, South Greenville, Walcoats. We've also added W.H. Robinson Elementary this year. There's been a lot of interest in this, and part of that is the result of some of the programming that we're putting in place at our Greenville elementary schools. Some of the early, some of that is already happening. Most of it will be in place starting with the 17-18 school year. 17-18 school year. And what I'm talking about there is Eastern will be a STEM-focused school. Elmhurst, a global health and wellness school. I mean, you've got like an emphasis on physical fitness, but also a language program that will be at Elmhurst. Walcoats is going to be an arts-focused school. South Greenville will incorporate an AVID elementary program in addition to a Fast Forward program that will have some of the students there that may need some additional help in school an additional month for them. It's not exactly year-round school, but it's pretty close for them. A couple of questions that I know will probably be asked that I want to address, and then I'm certainly open to answering any others that you have. Can open enrollment requests be turned in before April 1st? As I said, no. And it's just easier that way. It really is. What I have been told as far as emails, faxes, I've been asked, hey, what about if I email mine at 12:01 on April 1st, What I've been told is any emails before 8 a.m. will be treated as if they came in the mail that day, as far as timestamp goes. So if you send an email, make sure it's 8 o'clock at least, receive time. Is there a cap on the number of students who will be accepted for each school? This has been a very popular question. The answer to that is kind of. Yes, there is a cap. That cap is kind of a moving target, however. As we start to approach the number that we feel like, a school would max out at, that's when we start to have to evaluate other things in terms of determining whether or not the student gets in or not. An example of that might be, and I can give you a couple of the numbers that we've hit or that we've discussed, Eastern Elementary, for example. Right around 40 students is the number where when we hit that, we've then got to start evaluating the grade level for the request. There may be some grades that have more students than others. They may be able to accommodate you in a specific grade level. Again, we're looking at impact on other schools. Elmhurst, I think the number was right around 40, somewhere around there as well. South Greenville was 35, 40 range, comparable. Walcoats had quite a few more openings. The high schools, two of our high schools that we have the caps for that we really need to monitor, D.H. Conley and South Central, they're both at about 28 to 30 students. Will waiting lists be maintained if a school becomes full? I have not been told that there will be a waiting list of sorts because of the things I just told you as we monitor some of the other elements of the application. But it's not like there's a waiting list that's going to transfer over to the following school year. That will not be the case. So and there's no, can I get on a waiting list for next school year? Because open enrollment is a year-to-year decision by the Board of Education as far as which schools are open enrollment schools and which schools are not. But going back to something I said earlier, that does not mean that if you are approved to go to an Elmhurst Elementary and then that school is taken off the list next year by the Board of Education that your child has to leave. No, you're approved through the exit grade for that. Can a student's open enrollment status be revoked? Yes, it can. Discipline. If there are disciplinary issues, the principal at the school has the right to revoke the open enrollment status. We have not gotten a lot of this, but it has happened some. So yes, it can be. And when will we know if the open enrollment transfer request is approved? I can tell you, in talking with the student assignment office, they will start getting letters out as early as April 4th, the Monday after April 1st. But I don't want to guarantee you that you're going to find out that early, but I feel confident that they will get that information out to you as quickly as possible.
July 1st?
No, I mean April, because the applications start April 1st, and we're processing them right away. Yeah, you will not have to wait until, if you get your application in that early, you will not have to wait that long to find out whether or not you're approved. Yes, yeah. Let's see, did I have anything else? Yes?
I think open enrollment status can be revoked for excessive tardies in addition to
Well, yeah.
disciplinary problems.
Attendance issues, yes, that type of thing as well. This, if you want to jot this down, this is the student assignment office. These are the contacts. If you are emailing your request for an open enrollment transfer, this is the email address to Kay Wethington, KWEATH at pitt.k12.nc.us. That is where you're going to want to send it. Again, I would recommend you bring it in, hand deliver it. I will tell you though, if you're bringing your applications in and you're hand delivering it, we're setting up a table on the 3rd floor of the Pitt County School Central Office, and it's not going to be like a conversation time. It's just going to be you turn it in, you get your time stamped, and that's kind of it, and then you'll find out as we process it. So I just want to make you aware of that as well. But either one of these ladies, Kay is the director of student assignment, Wanda is an assistant in the office, and they would be happy to answer any other questions you might have after tonight. And again, Kay would be the one you would send your email to if you choose to. I don't have the fax number with me if you choose to fax. Does anybody even fax anymore? I'm not sure, but, but I don't know.
Can you give us the physical address of the building?
Sure, it's 1717 West 5th Street, Greenville. I think it's on the bottom of the forms too. Yes, it is. If you need, I'll put the forms back up here. It's on the bottom of the form as well. Mr. Smiley asked, if you email, will the email be acknowledged? The answer to that is no, and it's not because you're being ignored, it's because the people who are receiving those emails will be down at the tables at the central office if you're sending them in at 8 a.m. So there really is no, there's not going to be anybody there to, to say, hey, I got your email. Lisa? Yes? Correct. Yes. Yes. And then you just go back and look at the emails and the times received on those. Yes.
I think somebody wrote green.
Okay. Hold on. Do you want to?
So for the next few minutes, we're going to let Brock and Lisa just sort of take turns. Brock will sort of read out one of his questions and let you know the answer.
Yeah, Brock seemed to end up with a few more over here.
When it started kindergarten registration and then I saw the flyer and it said open enrollment, I was like, let me go first because I know that was the number one topic. Although I appreciate talking about kindergarten.
If you just have 2 or 3.
Yes,
Why don't we just go through your questions?
that's what I was going to say.
And we'll just move over to Brock.
Do you have some of mine?
Yeah, somebody wrote green on it.
Yeah, they did at the top. One of the questions are students grouped by assessment for kindergarten. What they do with that information is they put it into a spreadsheet, and they do try to group classrooms as needed, but it's also done to see a baseline of the kindergartner when we start the beginning of the year reading 3D as it goes forth. That's a way for the principal to show growth to not only for the school, but for the child and the parent to be able to see. So that's really the primary, because we do realize we have some great, smart kindergartners that just clam up for that assessment because they don't know them and they get quiet. So they note that as well. So do you want me to go ahead and answer the next one? And the other one is types of proof of residence. Is cell phone bill okay and credit card bill okay? I have seen people use the cell phone bill. That would be fine, but they prefer a utility bill, water bill, those types of things instead of. Nope, that's. We don't need to learn our pinks and our greens. Sorry.
Oh, again?
Yeah.
All right. Are you done?
Yes.
Okay. Couple of these are similar questions. They just keep coming, don't they? That's okay.
It's supposed to be green, we ran out.
Can I still give the pink ones to Lisa to answer?
I'll try.
Okay. Schools with a particular focus, such as the Greenville Elementaries. When will these schools enact that, and where will we be able to look that up or research them? Again, they will be in, there are some already starting to implement some elements of that right now. 2017-18 school year is when we expect it to be, have full implementation of that. Where can you find information on that right now? I have worked on some brochures that I've provided to some of the schools for these tours coming up next week. Additionally, we're going to post that online. That's something I've been working on to try to give you an idea of what to expect as far as that goes. So I would say the Pitt County Schools website or the individual schools. Give the individual schools until next week at least, though, because they won't have any of that information until next week. I mean, they may be able to talk to you a little bit about it, but if you want something hard copy in your hand, there'll be something there next week. Or you could always just contact my office and I can get it to you as well.
Is there a certain number of people for these tours?
We capped them at 25, but we would reschedule if we go beyond that number.
Okay, so we'll be able to see the ones that we really want.
Sure, we would.
At some point in time.
And most
Yes.
of the elementary principals that are on the tours have said that to me, to make sure that if that more people, they will allot another day
Yeah.
for you to be able to come as well.
Right now, we only have one school that has that number, so yeah, definitely if you're interested in the tour, make sure we've got your name tonight.
My son was approved for his 10th grade year, approved for open enrollment. I'm assuming, yes. Do I still need to reapply for 11th grade? No, you do not have to reapply. Once you are approved, it is good through the exit grade of the school for which you are approved. There are a couple on here about kindergarten. How would open enrollment work for kindergarten? And then there's another one that asks about registration for kindergarten, I know. Yes. If we are registering for kindergarten open enrollment, do we still register at the current assigned school? My recommendation would be no, do not. Get your approval letter for open enrollment, hold on to it. Well, actually, we would already be past that point. Because they have the kindergarten registrations for March fall before the actual open enrollment approval date or application period. So I would say just to cut out.
Just to be safe.
Yeah, just wait. and once you're approved for open enrollment, they accept registration anytime.
They do.
It's just there's a more coordinated effort to get a larger number of people registered during those March dates that are posted. But you can register anytime by going out to the school for kindergarten.
Follow up on that question. So
Sure.
if we get approved for open enrollment, well, like, my son's a kindergartner, so if we get it, or going to kindergarten, we'll get our letter, fingers crossed, of approval, and then will that letter have information on how to register, or do we just reach out to that school on our own?
You would just reach out to the school on your own. There wouldn't be anything specific in the letter about open enrollment about since you're in kindergarten, no, you could just refer to the website again, as she was saying, for all the documents that are needed, and then just, reach out to the specific school.
Are you saying we need the actual approval letter before the registration?
Yes, because they're going to ask you for the proof of residency, and if you're not in their district, they're not going to register you unless you are, you have that approval letter. Where exactly do we turn in applications? The office number and the person. These are the people who will be accepting them. You will turn them in starting April 1st on the 3rd floor of the county office complex, which is the address that's on the bottom of the student reassignment form, the 1717 West 5th Street. It will be the 3rd floor is where we're going to be set up that morning of April 1st if you would like to turn them in on that day. After April 1st, you just go to the 3rd floor, talk with the receptionist, and she'll direct you to the student assignment office, and you can turn it in there. But these are your contacts for that.
What time is that building open for people who are trying to get to work?
Start of business is 8 o'clock. Building opens at 7:30, I think. Probably shouldn't have said that. But we've actually, it's funny, I've been told we've actually gotten the question, is this the only entrance to the building? So,
Are we allowed to camp on the grass or the cement of the door?
it's a good,
Set up like a viewing gallery.
Yeah, viewing gallery.
good problem to have. This question is about the curriculum in the different schools. Like I said, we'll have more of that stuff posted online here in the near future. And the schools will have some of that as well to provide to you. And the principals can always talk to you a little bit about some of the plans in place for that too. I would also say you could contact the EPS department. And you can find that under departments on the Pitt County Schools website. You can get the contact numbers there. And they could also talk to you a little more about the programs that are going to be offered there. What happens if you get accepted to an open enrollment school, but you change your mind over the summer? We hunt you down. No, that's really up to you. If you choose not to go, but it would be nice if you would let us know if you choose not to go, just so we could, like I said, some places we have that moving target, and it'd be good if we are aware if you've decided to decline it and not go, so we could, maybe offer it to someone else. How do they choose schools for open enrollment? Schools are chosen by the Board of Education. They vote on it. The final decision is theirs. It's based, as I said earlier in the presentation, it's based on capacity. It's based on the impact of other schools in the area and or what they feel may be the impact on other schools. It has typically been a matter of capacity, though. If we have open seats in a school, why not offer them to someone else who may want to go there instead of confining everyone to the one district? That's typically how that decision is made. Yes?
Just a follow-up question on that. Are the votes of the school board on record for who supported that?
Who supported the open enrollment list?
Like, are they minutes? I guess.
They would be in the minutes. The minutes from that meeting, 'cause it was February, right? It was February meeting. They would not be posted yet, but I think it was an 8-1.
That's right.
It was an 8-1 vote. So the one, Walter Gaskins. Yeah, yeah. and I think Walter's comment was that he only voted against it because he wanted every school on the list, I think was his comment. If you don't get your first choice, will you automatically get your second? I hate to talk in absolutes, but I feel pretty confident that most people will get their first choice. But if you don't, I am extremely confident that you would get your second choice. Yes?
Well, if your second choice is another very popular school,
Again, I hate to talk, it could come back to bite me. I'm glad that we have a lot of interest. I don't think we're going to have so much where we can't fill one or two choices max. I just don't anticipate that. Yes?
Now, is it by like grade? Is there only a certain amount you can put in by grade? Like, say we have someone going into like first grade, is there only a certain amount of kids they're going to put in first grade in each school, or is it?
Initially, no. That's not going to be, like I said, as we start reaching the target number, we'll look more at the grade levels and how it might affect the individual grade levels. But right away, no. It's, it's always been, as I said, this is a little different as far as the open enrollment process goes, because it's always been just a rubber stamp process, really. You apply, you're approved, you go to your new school. It's a good, exciting time for us that we have the kind of interest where we're actually having to talk about things like, waiting list, or, first, if you don't get your first choice, you get your second choice, those types of things. That's exciting for us. And I think just a good thing for Pitt County schools overall. How long will open enrollment be valid for high school? It's valid, I'm not sure, I don't know if whomever asked this, if they want to clarify. I'm not sure if you're asking if you get approved for a high school, how long is it valid, or how long the high schools will be on the list. Does anybody want to clarify? How long will they be on the list? I can't really answer that. I mean, that's a year-to-year decision. It's a decision of the board, and I can't really answer that. I can only tell you the things that are taken into consideration, and if we've got a high school that's 150 kids over capacity next year, odds are it's probably not going to be on the list next year. But I can't really tell you for sure. What's the likelihood of schools being removed from open enrollment in the coming years if we're trying to prepare for younger siblings? Again, this is one I can't really answer. It's totally dependent on the number of students in the school and the decision of the Board of Education. I can't really answer that. We haven't taken anyone off since I've been in this position. We haven't taken any school off, but again, we've never really had this interest that we have now too. So I'm sorry, but I really can't really answer that one for you.
Could I just add one thing to that? I think what's been really important for our Board of Education to hear through things like the community conversations is that this is something that parents really want. So along that line, reach out to your Board of Education member, let them know that you appreciate this opportunity for open enrollment. And I think that would have a lot of weight on our elected officials.
I would agree with that as well. And I keep trying to hammer home this point. We're going to work with families as much as possible. I mean, we really are. We're going to try our best to accommodate all of our people who are interested in Pitt County schools. I've talked with just the conversations I've had with the folks who will be involved in these decisions. I feel very confident in that.
I have one if you want to take a breath. Give you a chance to read. This question is, what is available for students that are advanced or above grade level performance? Example, any gifted programs. I'm not sure if this was just for kindergarten or for all, but I'm going to answer for kindergarten unless someone wants to clarify. We have a nurturing program. Tim DeCreasy is in charge of our academically gifted program, and students are tracked by, and it's a very complicated spreadsheet. I was talking to Lauren because she works in his office. But the AIG teachers that would be there for Stride for the older students that are 4th grade and above are also there to work with the core teachers on AIG type independent projects with the teacher, so that teacher can get some ideas from them. And at times they are also pulled. So as a former principal, I would have some, for example, that were exceptional in math, and they were in kindergarten. We would spend some time in the first grade math class, of course, parent approval. But there are multiple ways. And Lauren, do you want to add to that? Let me stand by you.
That's going to be dependent on school, because at your larger schools, your AIG teacher is involved all day with groups for 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, which is who we are required to serve by the state. So at smaller schools, your AIG teachers are going to have the ability to push down into the lower grades to do the nurturing. So it is based on the availability of time in the AIG teacher's day.
So what's considered, what are the schools that are large or small?
Like Wintergreen would be a large school.
So they're not going to, they have 2 AIG teachers that are full-time with 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students.
It's not a lot. And is that the only, we're not in school yet, so I know none of this, so, I hope they're not silly questions, but, so is Eastern a large school, or is Elmhurst, and like?
Just to put in perspective, Wintergreen is, I think, our 3rd largest school. And it's it's a K-5 with 1,600 kids.
Okay.
I mean, Eastern is about 700 or so.
Is it listed somewhere on the website as far as?
Enrollments, yes.
Yeah.
You can find our enrollments. I think it's in the For the Media section. It's also maybe in About PCS when you click on one of the tabs at the top and go into.
What number would be considered?
Well, but it's not, let me clarify, it's not just number of students in the school, but it's number of students identified, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So even if it's a smaller school, if you've got a very large gifted population that's identified, those teachers are required to serve those kids first.
And there's no way to find that out until.
You can call and talk to the principal to find out the AIG teachers.
I would encourage you to talk to the principal, and then if you go onto our website, there's the academically gifted menu, click on that, and it has all the information for it, and you can follow up both the principal and you can follow up Tim DeCreasy, because he's the one in charge of that. And that's what I would do to make sure I got the right answers. Yes.
It's not like a set number at each school.
Right.
It's gifted. That actually changes based on the student population at that school, and the AIG program responds to that based on the number that are identified. So 1 year a school might have a half-time AG teacher, and the next year, because they only have 10 or 15, next year they might have 25 identified.
Have a full-time.
So they might get a full-time. And that shifts. You right, Lauren? Yeah.
But is the
So
individual
it was
teacher
demand,
staff
it responds to demand.
If the individual teacher, are they allowed to do?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. The core teachers, as I said before, they offer opportunities for the AIG teacher to sit in on planning levels. If there's a specific kids in their classroom, then those kids are that principal contacts their AIG that serves at another school, and they make sure that that's within the lesson plans for that child. You know, we definitely don't want a child sitting in a classroom that's above grade level that can perform. So one of my suggestions, like I said, you will see certain subject areas where they may attend another grade level for just a specific subject area. That's far and few between, but it's between the principal and the parent and the teacher, of course, to make that decision.
So if we have, suspicion that our child might be in that category,
Yes.
should we wait until after, like what assessment should we be looking for that the teacher's going to say, hey, maybe this is what's going on with this?
I would first have that conversation when you have the open house, definitely with that teacher. And within a couple of weeks of school, we do the beginning of the year BOY Reading 3D, which assesses all their reading skills. And that is a benchmark is what we call it, and that is something that they look at very carefully to see. So those will be your 2 avenues to look for.
Okay. I have one quick question. Okay. As far as the academically gifted, I know many years ago they used to go to different schools. Is that all done in-house now, or?
It depends. Like we just said, some stay at a certain school because of the large number.
You also do transport if needed?
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Yes. Yes.
Okay, I want to go back and clarify something related to high school open enrollment and athletics. The transfer rule applies to a student who transfers from the day they begin participating in a sport, which is August 1st for our fall sports. So even if school has not started yet and you have been a part of a team as of August 1st, if you transfer high schools, it applies to you. Just for clarification on that. Now, open enrollment on the form, there's a reason for reassignment. Do we just put open enrollment or need more explanation? You can just put open enrollment for that. There's no need for the explanation on that. We've actually had some people call and say, yeah, we heard we had to write a letter and this type of stuff. No, just fill out the form. That's all that's really needed. Now you can write an explanation, but it's not required. Available middle schools underperforming according to North Carolina report cards. Can we get a choice of better performing schools? Well, I can say two things on this. You can have a choice. You've got the 6 middle school options that I showed you for open enrollment. I think it was 6. But the days of like No Child Left Behind, where you automatically get a transfer and that, those days are done. There is no more automatic transfers as far as that go. We do have choice, however. Does where you go for open enrollment impact middle school? I'm not entirely sure I understand what this means. I think it means if I am approved to an open enrollment school in elementary, but yet I live in the district. Are we talking about feeder patterns here?
Yeah, feeder pattern, I think is what they're asking.
It does not impact your middle school. The answer to that would be if the middle school is out of your district that you want to attend and it's not an open enrollment school, then you need to be in the district to attend that school. We really don't have, our feeder patterns are not clear cut in a lot of cases, anyway. But yes, the answer to that is no, it does not. But I would say, as far as that goes, that this list of open enrollment schools is certainly trending toward more schools. So, if you look at the recent history, maybe there's a possibility that the list expands to some, and some other schools are a part of it. There could be schools come off too, however. If processing at the door, are you giving the answer at that time? If so, how do you handle others not at the table? No, the answer is not given at that time. It is time-stamped though. And how do you handle the others not at the table? Like I said, if they come in, they need to come in at 8 o'clock or later. If they come in with the mail, then that's the timestamp that goes on them. If they are emailed, they need to come after 8 a.m. and we would have the time received in the email as verification of that. I think the encouragement is to hand. I absolutely encourage you to do that. And as people have pointed out to us, this is spring break. April 1st is the Friday of our spring break. You don't have to deliver it. Somebody can deliver it for you. Okay? I mean, you might want, for the security, you may want to hand deliver it yourself, but it does not have to work that way. If you are out of town, maybe there's a relative, maybe there's someone who can bring it for you. But I would encourage you to deliver it and bring it in and deliver it by hand. What will be the area of focus for Robinson? At this time, there is no specific focus like with the Greenville Elementaries for W.H. Robinson. One thing I would say about W.H. Robinson, though, is you've got a school that's sitting out there with about 200 empty seats, and I feel like one of the best-kept secrets in Pitt County schools. Amazing things happening at that school. And if you want to see for yourself, take the tour next week, or call Miss Vincent, Tiffany Vincent, the principal at the school, and set up a tour on your own and go out and see some of the things they've got. I think you would be impressed with it.
And that school is known to have the least turnovers, teacher turnovers as well. So to me, that only accents the fact that it's a great school with a great leadership.
Yes.
I kind of was wondering the same thing, but just a general question. The
art school and the global, whatever. How did that come, I mean, is that something they self-assign, you know, were interested in as a school, or how did that come about?
Well,
How was that decided?
I would do my best to answer that because I did not play a part in the decision making. But I think that the idea behind that, if you couldn't hear, the question was how was the decision made? What type of focus? Which schools would have a specific focus and so forth. I think the idea was we're opening up all of the Greenville elementaries. Let's give them each some type of special programming that would impact people's choices on whether or not they want to go there. And if it doesn't impact a choice on someone attending that particular school, at least we're going to, serve the kids who are there well with something a little unique. I mean, I think that's the thinking that went into it because we anticipated some movement in Greenville city limits, and we just wanted them to have options. Give everyone its own little personality, I guess. I hope that answered it. Yes.
The survey sent out last year.
There was a survey sent out that generated ideas on what types of programming would be provided. Yes. Mm-hmm.
No, I remember that.
Yeah. My kid is transferring from out of state this summer. I was told we will need to make an appointment to be allowed to register for school. How will that impact his ability to be considered for open enrollment? Not real sure about this one. I'm not sure what the appointment would be for. You're going to have a proof of residency for registration purposes. So I don't know if I'm answering this question or not, but I would think you're going to have the proof of residency before the child can be registered at all. So I would recommend on that one, whomever asked, that you call the student assignment office and get clarification on whether they will take the open enrollment application without any type of proof of residency. I'm thinking they will, but I don't want to speak for Kay. I think you should call Kay and get clarification on that.
If the parent is already here and they know the child is coming,
Then it shouldn't be a problem. It shouldn't be a problem to apply. That's why I'm leaning toward yes.
Yeah, if the parent's already established here and the child's just coming to them, yeah, they would have that physical address.
Yeah.
and they could go ahead and apply for open enrollment during the season.
What happens as far as funding the school from where students are going to be coming from? Funding's a state. I mean, it's based on ADM. So, if
Daily membership, that means the number of kids at that school. That's
yes,
what it means.
enrollment. Yes. So if X school goes from 500 kids to 700 kids, then they will get the teacher allotments that go along with that, because that's what the teachers are allotted based on the state formula for enrollment, ADM. And locally, we throw additional teachers on top of that. We actually provide more teachers with local funding and spend our local funding on additional teachers for our schools to try to keep classroom sizes down and so forth, probably more than any other surrounding district around here, and more than a lot of other districts. Like, that's one of the things and I'm kind of going off topic here, but when you see higher teacher supplements offered in some other districts, if you really looked into it, you would probably find that they don't spend the local money on additional teachers for the classroom, and that's why they're able to provide higher local supplements. So it's really a matter of what you're looking for. If you're recruiting teachers, are you looking for to be able to offer those supplements to get, to retain your to have a better chance of retaining and recruiting your teachers? Or are you trying to provide as much support as possible in the classroom to keep your class sizes down and so forth? And we've chosen to provide more teachers.
Kind of along those lines, as the schools develop a focus, are the teachers being allowed to choose, like, I would love to be in a kinesthetic environment, can I go teach at Elmer's? Are teacher transfers being considered that way?
I think that they certainly should be. I can't really speak for the principals who would be doing the hiring there, but we do have a transfer list, and you put on if you want to transfer within the district, you put on the list which schools you would like to, you have a first, second, third choice, and principals look at that list. My recommendation for any teacher in that particular circumstance would be to reach out to the principal at the school that they would like to go to and say, hey, I put my name on the transfer list. I really would like to go to your school because I have an interest in this, and I feel like could be a real asset for you, and so forth. That would be my recommendation on that. I just answered that. What happens if my child? Wait a minute. I'm not sure what this is. What happens if my child's registration at an open enrollment school is terminated? I got it. All right. If the registration at open enrollment school is terminated, I guess there are two different scenarios we could be looking at here. Just to simplify it, you would go back to the school that is in the district in which you live. That is simplified. So I can't speak for anyone who may be coming from like a private school or a homeschool environment or something like that, but then you would have your options to do that. But as far as Pitt County schools go, if the open enrollment application is terminated or is revoked, then, or the open enrollment status is revoked, then you would go back to your home school, wherever that may be.
Is that true if, like, say, Chicago, for example, was open enrollment and then they weren't the next year? Is that the same process?
No, once you're approved, you're there.
You can stay at that school for the exit year?
Yes. At Chicago, K-8, you're approved as a kindergartner, which is, Chicago is not an open, but at K-8 school, you're approved as a kindergartner, you're there through 8th grade, and you don't have to reapply. I will be happy to stick around. If you have specific questions you want to ask me, I will stay around for as long as I need to. I will address you two, I guess. Yes, ma'am.
Would you say that Pitt County schools, as far as Board, I don't know if this is Board of Education or what, do you think they're trending more towards open enrollment, or do you foresee another redistricting of schools? I know it's been a while since Pitt County Schools has done redistricting, but as someone who currently has their house on the market, just wondering, do you think it's trending more towards open enrollment, or do you think we'll see another redistricting come in along?
That's a tough question for me to answer because I don't really, conversations I've had with people, I don't see a whole lot of interest in redistricting. I think at this particular time, it is kind of trending more toward offering school choice and see, more school choice and see what happens. But, I shouldn't be trying to speak for the board. I mean, it is a board decision ultimately. So.
Historically, the last several redistricting has been when there's been a new school that's opened.
Correct.
And that's the rationale by having to adjust to fill a new school.
It's been a new school opened, and we had one situation with A.G. Cox where they were like 1,100 kids and an 800 capacity, and we had to do something with, moving some people around and so forth. Do you have a question too?
Could you just put the slide back up that lists the elementary schools?
Sure.
Thank you.
And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Brock and Lisa and Terry for coming and talking about the day. I'd also like to thank our elected officials for coming. Caroline Doherty, could you stand up, please? She's an elected official who's been elected to the Board of Education. So you want to ask her the really hard question.
Where's her green card?
Yeah.
So if you want to have your own ask questions,
Yeah.
thank you for coming. We love it. But I really want to thank all of you. These are our public schools, your public schools. So your interest, your enthusiasm, your learning about them is so important to building them and keeping them strong. So thank you so much for coming. And stop any of us and ask a question. Don't forget to sign up for tours if you want to outside. Girl Scouts in the back.